Today being the day 4 of the days of rage, the president has, of course, given his address to the nation and to the protesters to ease them. To discuss this and much more discussion is no other person than Professor Uchenna Eko. He's a professor in communication and an expert in communication. He's a writer. He's a lot of things, actually. And he is also a lecturer in the Union College in the United States. Professor Uchenna, wonderful to have you here with us in the studio this morning.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
So, first, you've heard the speech from the president this morning. Would like to get your input and your insight on that.
Okay. Yeah, it's good that he came to address the nation, even though it's kind of belated, because I expected that he should have done this earlier than now, even prior to even the protest itself, because from the information available to me, the plans towards this protest started a long time ago. They should have been able to nip this in the bud, particularly like all these loss of lives and loss of property here, and they probably could have been averted. So, but whatever, no matter whatever happens, we're facing the now in the whole situation. So he has done that. But also looking at the content of that speech, he just did the usual thing most of these leaders do. I expected more proactive or more, like some provocative or some unusual, response, that will kind of appease the protesters. So I'm not sure to what extent the laundry list, it's like he was just reading a speech, telling everyone what he's been doing and all that. But I'm sure most Nigerians are tired of listening to all these platitudes, all this talk and talk and talk. There has to be some pragmatic and very effective way to say, okay, I've had this issue, I'm going to do this right now, immediately. If it took you long to come to respond, if for some reason maybe they thought it wouldn't happen, but I'm sure they do receive intelligence, about, they even know, like some of us now, on the surface, we don't know who is planning this, the organizers, but I can assure you that it was organized, but we don't know the faces behind that. Part of it also is, it looks like it's a new trend. If you see what happened in Kenya,
yes,
it was faceless. And I guess part of it is also to make sure that somehow the authorities do not hijack it by either finding a way of penetrating the organizers and either influencing them one or the other so that they don't come to the streets. But somehow, the point I'm making is that they do receive intelligence. I'm very sure about that. So, and they should have known that this was coming and, be proactive about it. The challenge I see with a lot of policy issues in most African countries, or even some other countries as well, they tend to be reactive rather than proactive. And it's not healthy because it ends up creating problems. So when there are two issues I think he raised in the speech, which in my view is probably, two of those issues are central to all the challenges the country is having right now. The removal of fuel subsidy and the exchange rate situation.
Yes.
Yes, he said he took that decision knowing that it was going to be painful. But again, in public policy, what normally you do is, because every policy you take has some ramifications and some unintended consequences, what we call externalities. So during the decision making, during the policy making process, they should have been able to evaluate all these externalities and consider the positive and negative externalities and how to, and policy tools to deal with them. I'm not sure to what extent they have done that. And he just came into office, boom, you removed fuel subsidy. You've not even sat down to study the environment to know, because let me tell you something, my experience in public policy, sometimes when you're in government versus when you're outside, it's always good to criticize, but when you get in there, you realize that it's not what you've seen outside that you're seeing inside. So I thought it would have been better if you had come in to study this before, taking those actions. So to have taken that action the first day, and now you're grappling to see how you solve the problem that you probably didn't expect will come out of it. So that's why we're where we are.
Yes.
So, and specifically in that speech, I'm not convinced that he has really addressed the issues that most protesters
Prof,
are
I was going
demanding.
to go to that. Talking about the content of his speech, he mentioned a lot of things, policies, reforms. 1 year after his swearing in, mentioned ICT reforms, student loan, things like that. However, the demands of the protesters are very clear. They mentioned things about reducing cost of governance, removal of fuel subsidy, things with INEC. Do you think that somewhere in the president's speech he was able to directly address at least one or some of those demands from the protesters?
Specifically, he has not, because you see, like what happened in Kenya. Let me also share that experience. In Kenya, they wanted this thing to be removed, and the president came out specifically and said, I'm rescinding this decision. Even though it did not assuage the protester, but at least you could see a response from a president that showed that he was listening. So with all these laundry challenges, all these demands, so there is no single one I can just say that, okay, yes, I've had you, I'm your father, I'm the president, father of the nation, I'm going to do this. Because you can't continue to beat a child, right, and you don't expect that child to be crying, And you see, I always quote Albert Einstein. He says that we cannot solve existing problems with the same mindset that created it.
Absolutely.
That's what is happening. Oh, you see this speech? The same speech perhaps Babangida could have given during surprise in 1989. The same speech, so the same thing.
But same.
Yeah. So I wanted someone to just jump out of the conventional distance and just do something radical, something different. So I did not hear that from him. But let me also give credit to him about this student loan thing. I think it's a good thing. I did my undergraduate studies in Nigeria.
Okay.
So we never had that opportunity. In the United States, my PhD, I did it with a loan from the government of the United States. And I'm sure a lot of people in Nigeria will be able to go to school if they had that kind of loan. Now, if it's true the protesters are demanding that they want it to be a grant, not loan, I differ from that. But I can also understand them, because you see, there's this mentality, people that,
once it's free,
everything is free. I don't believe in that. You have to be able to pay back. Get a loan, go to school, then get a job and pay this thing gradually, and it becomes it kind of continues to recycle. You see, so because I can tell you as a kid, there is one guy I remember. He was in secondary school. His father came to borrow money from my dad. 84 naira those days, in the early 70s. I was a very small kid. I was in primary school. 84 naira. And if my dad did not borrow money to that guy, he lent that money to the parents of that guy wouldn't have gone to secondary school. That guy later on became, I think, a bank manager. So every Christmas, he would come and pay tribute to my dad. That's how I got to know about this story. So, but if somehow the government can provide this kind of environment to assist poor people to go to school, that's a good thing. Even though, unfortunately, a lot of young people don't see value in education again in this country, which is very sad. But it's because of the culture, because of the value system. They think that, why do I have to go to school when I can be carrying bags of money for a rich guy? Then the guy will put me in house of, and in the Senate or the Congress or whatever. Rep, so, and I'll begin to make money. So there's no incentive for them. And when you get there, you know that you're going to get a bulletproof car and all that kind of stuff for nothing. So that's just the challenge we're having.
I would like to ask, of course, we're discussing protests and the challenges of good governance and the economic hardship in Africa as a whole. Now, you pointed out that one of the good things that he said in the speech was about the loan. Now, my concern and my question is, we know how, he brought the implementation, he signed it into law, and then it has started, it has kicked off rather. But there is also no plan on how to pay back. The economic situation of the country is still not in a good position. If they get this loan and they're through with school, how is the payback system going to be like? None of this was explained. do you really think that this plan of his is visible? Do you think it's sustainable?
To tell you the truth, I've not gone through the mechanisms of the loan system, but I believe when they call it a loan, I expect that it has to be paid back.
True.
Right? So otherwise they could have just said it's a grant. But at the same time, I just do hope that even the system or those who implement this policy will not create that avenue to make their own money. To line their pockets. I hope that it will be. That's the problem again with policy making. So it's a good policy, but to what extent will implementation be successful? And that brings in the issue of anti-corruption challenges in Nigeria. I think the government has to be more aggressive in anti-corruption policies, because this idea of when EFCC will arrest somebody, the next thing nothing happens. It's like a culture, So they has to stop that. I mean, the government has to stop that. All right, and also this display of wealth. People are watching, and you see, this world is. With technology, everyone is monitoring everyone. When people are in public places and they are wasting, I listened to Jonathan the other day, President Jonathan, he made a comment about that, because when you go and you're spreading money all over the place because you're the father or the child of a president or whatever, you are sending the wrong signal. So government has to find a way of addressing anti-corruption issues. But more fundamentally about this issue about hunger and all. Remember, a lot of people are not even bothered about even if you are stealing money, but they don't have food to eat.
Basic needs are not
basic needs, Like, again, in some environments where if you have light, you have TV, you have a car, I don't care what, whatever, I can go to hospital, I do everything. I don't care about whatever the President of the United States is doing, because I can acquire everything I need, So I can't sleep in more than one room at a time, right? I have a house, I have a car. So what do I need? I don't have to have too many cars, you see? So, but the thing is, when people to display these things here, some young people will think that it is
a way of life,
and they will kind of be aspiring to have too many cars, have too many vehicles. Maybe in the north they want to have too many wives and all that. So so that's just the problem. So to address the issue of hunger, that's one thing I didn't get here in this speech. I was thinking, for example, government can say, what? Because even this idea of sharing rice, in my view, it doesn't cut it. But if you give me a bag of rice today, tomorrow it's finished.
Yes.
It will finish, right? It finishes tomorrow, and what do I do? And the rice is not coming again. The Chinese proverb says, if you give a man a fish today, you have fed him for one day, but if you teach him how to fish, you feed him all his life. Therefore, government has to invest drastically in agricultural production. A lot of young people incentivize, make agriculture attractive industry. Provide, like all this money here and there, why don't we buy tractors and give to all the local governments and make sure, let them create farms. That is, I've watched some other people who are into that. There are a lot of ideas they have how to boost agricultural production. A lot of young people can return back to the farm if it is made to be attractive. Because I understand most young people cannot go and carry hoe and knife and be doing stuff. Mechanized agriculture, let's invest so much in that. If this bringing rice from the United States, who is producing it there?
Absolutely.
Why can't we have land here? We have very great arable land here.
Prof, you're a policy development expert, and you did allude to the fact that for every policy, that there should be other policy tools to ameliorate the. I'm actually going to fuel subsidy removal. So, in your opinion, what are some of these that could have been put in place to, reduce the negative economic effects that Nigerians are feeling right now based on removal? Because it actually cut across the subsidy removal and everything started spiraling out of control. So, in your view, what are the president and his cabinet could have sat down to put in place to ensure the heat of the subsidy removal is not so much on the people?
As a matter of fact, the truth is also that that subsidy is not entirely removed. Let's even face it. You know, so even to be honest to the Nigerian people, you know, that's even the beginning. The government has to be transparent to the Nigerian people and tell them why. Because again, communication is key. Because I can assure you, when they sat down to make this decision, right, they knew that this could happen because this is not something that is new to Nigeria. I'm old enough to surprise in 1989, right? So again, some take citizens for granted. You know, we don't communicate with the people who govern. It's a challenge. And not until we reduce that, we'll continue to have this cycle of violence and all that. Because you have pushed them to the wall to the point that they have no choice than to react. Talking about the policy tool, again, before it was too early. Because he has never been a president of Nigeria. So it's just like I walked into the studio and while I'm coming, I call you guys the chairs. I've not even seen where the chairs are. Right? So I have to come here to look at the environment. This should be here, this and that, right? Yes. So that was the mistake he made. You can't govern from outside. So when he should have sat down to look at the situation and before he takes that decision. And so it's just like this, what's it called, this minimum wage thing. It is nothing. Because that money has been taken. Already? This idea of giving you something with your right hand and taking it with your left hand. You know, it continues to. So I was thinking that, the agenda, right? But honestly, I'm not sure there's any hope. There's a hopeless here because what is going to be different from what has happened in the past? That's what I want, a break from the past. That's something my vision. Disruptive. Yeah, exactly. So we have not seen that disruptive element in the whole policy calculation. The whole thing is happening. So, and for him to win the trust of Nigeria, there has to be a way that he will do something different from previous administrations. There's no doubt he inherited a lot of challenges, no doubt, because as I am aware, continue to complain about the dormant, the inactive performance of the administration. So he will have swung in on that platform to do something different. So that people will see that there's a different. I still remember 1984, when Idiabo and Buhari came to power. Nigerian felt their presence. War against indiscipline. Yes, he could see a break from Shaga. So everybody felt their presence. Don't you think it had something to do with them being military? No, even this democracy. Our democracy is almost even worse than the military. So we're running a unitary system of government in this country, because the states are not independent of the federal government, because every month they go there and be asking for. So if they want to behave differently, they can. And the Congress is not even helping matters, because sometimes they ask, can they challenge the president on anything? Anywhere they have told the president you're wrong. That's why I say it's state military. Where have you ever seen the Congress and the Senate or House of Representatives, president over a policy matter? No. Have you ever seen any state governor that is independent of Abuja? Even this local government autonomy is a good thing. The extent to which it can function is still open to this, because they are not everything. They can't question wrong policies and all that. And because when people call in public policy groupthink, it's a very dangerous thing. Yes, So there has to be a way people should think differently. I, for one, I'm a writer. When I write, I even read to correct, because he may not know it all. There could be one place he didn't cross a T. And someone will draw your attention to that. Okay, that challenge. The fact that you're in voted office does not absolute knowledge of everything. listen to people. Okay, there has to be from the because sometimes, let me also tell you something. I'm very friendly with some leaders, right? Sometimes when you're in power, unvarnished truth, the people around you are sycophants. They will just be telling what you want to hear from them and move on. Do you know? Can you imagine the spectacle it would have been if you had seen Tinubu on a T-shirt with a pajama, right? Walking on the streets of Elori with protest to say, yes, this is, you know, because he was a protester himself, right?
Yes, yes.
So to say, yes, I've been telling my team that we have to change ways. He will be something radical, you know. Let me say something that I observed standing up making the speech. I liked it. On the podium, I like that. You know, most Nigerians will just sit like a king.
Yes,
you know. Yes. So it was whoever would, I like that. And we need to be seeing that. Not each time they come and sit like this, they're sleeping. You know, there has to, somebody should infuse some life in governance. You know, some of the optics.
Okay, so we've seen the issue in Kenya. We've seen one right now too again in Nigeria. We saw the changes that came out just from Kenya. Do you think, what are the key strategies that can be used to address the economic hardship in Africa as a whole, not just even in this?
No, actually, the reality is that it is to really allow citizens to participate in governance. Citizen participation is key. The problem with most African countries have been somewhere, again, like I said, when you think that you know it all, right? That thing. There are a couple of African countries that some of their presidents have been in 40 years.
Yes.
Right? I remember Pobia in Washington in 1942, and he was like crawling and stuff. The guy was in power since 1982, right? I left secondary school in 1982. Can you imagine years ago? You know? So, and what makes you think that you know it all? I also know Cameroonians too, who are opposed to his continuing in power, but and even sometimes most of those guys are captives to the system. Like possibly the president himself may be tired, just like Zimbabwe. Mugabe, the United Nations, you'll be sleeping, you know, during General Assembly. He's someone who is captured by the system, but he doesn't know how to liberate himself because him insist that he has to be there because so that they can do whatever they want to do.
Yes.
So what do we do in Africa? Because Africa is so rich. I've actually touched the entire regions of Africa, and I realize the potential population. You know, the youth board is critical, and we're so gifted. But at the same time, we also must have to find a way on tying ourselves from the West. Because the truth is that most of the African countries to be independent, but they're not. That's the sad truth. You know, so they're not really independent by themselves because a situation part of it is francophone countries. You know, we in the anglophone countries like that. You know, so sometimes there are certain decisions taken on their own because they need alien of the West. If some of them were left to own decisions and implement them, perhaps it will be they will probably go further. And you see, like all these attachments to all this World Bank, IMF, and all that. So even all these exchange rates and all that, where our people can, if they can be selfless, really, that's the word. They can have faith in the countries they govern. So, to be honest with you, most leaders in Africa they don't have faith in their government. What do I mean by that? How can someone who is, let's say Nigeria, have faith in Nigeria, invest in Nigeria, even if you're in Nigeria, visit in Nigeria, don't bring it to the United States to buy houses. right? Don't send their kids to
improving their economy.
Yes, because some of them, when they die, money is stuck in the bank, and they used to give us credit cards. You know, so these Western countries know about these things, but it has been they love you. They should be able to find a way of stopping those things from coming in.
But it pays them well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the point. Everything is about self-interest. Preservation is the first order. All right.
All right, Prof. Just for that, you had something to say?
Okay.
Okay, beautiful. Governance. You mentioned a few points here why good governance in Nigeria for some time. You mentioned lack of citizen participation. You mentioned poor communication. And I want you to expound on the role of the Senate, Congress, as you would put it, in good governance. What are they not getting right? How can it get better?
Sorry, when I often use the word Congress.
I know that. I know where you're coming from.
In Nigeria, it's called the Senate and National and National Assembly. Yeah, sure. So the National, quite frankly, you know, my thing is, I just want them to be independent. They are not, in my view. Whatever they say, they are not independent. I'm very close to some of them, because sometimes when I argue with some of them, they tell me, this is not America. But we can make Nigeria in that sense. Because it's not, it doesn't, it's true you're there, I will protect your job because you're a professional politician. And
is there, being a professional politician, is it even right, or is it a misnomer?
Well, it's what it is. When you cannot do the right thing because you want to protect, you're a professional. Like now, you're a broadcaster, right? You are in broadcasting. That's your profession. So you want to do everything to protect. So that's what they're doing there. But the truth also is that some of them also are doing on the side. So to invest so much, because I thought that, you see, politics is a road to policy. If I were to get into politics today, I'll be going in to bring that to change lives of people, so that when I die, they say, but for this person, this happened, right? So let me give you, like, maybe I may not have been following a lot of things happening in Nigeria, right? But I want a situation where somebody will pass a law or stop either a go to do X, Y, and Z, and even that's after that person, and it becomes a law that can also be used in and all that, right? And over time, this will grow. Then you will say, "I did this," okay? But to what extent they do that? Because sometimes they've been paid. Quite frankly, we can do it. Honestly, why are they being? Sometimes some of them, I'm not even sure, are killed in legislation, in making legislation. You know, executive will just say this is what we want, and they don't.
Once an executive order comes,
they're rubber stamps. So it's wrong that such things should be happening. So if because we kind of, John Locke, you know, like we kind of sour we give them the trust to represent us, right?
Yes.
So, but to what extent are they representing us? You see them, because people believe they're not being represented well. That's why they're on the streets. We want to hear their voice. Okay? Because if those representatives have been really represented, there will be the mouth of the streets. And they'll be challenging the government. Because the fact that they see that two arms are in cahoots, they just see all of them, label them as the same. And the economic research I'm undergoing through right now about journalism and democratic participation, what I'm finding interesting, and it still shows that people at the grassroots, pause of government, they don't even know their leaders. You know, everyone knows the federal government, right? But Nigeria is so vast. There is in active journalism here. I've been to every part of Nigeria, all the 30 states. I've been meetings in every state capital in the entire. So I understand Nigeria. So the rural people are not participating in governance. That has to change. Structures are built to achieve that, but the unfortunate is that, you know, just like even this local government autonomy, the fact that it's at the mercy of state governors, it's not proper.
It's an aberration.
Do you know, I was just discussing with a friend, Donald Trump, former president of the United States, was indicted by an equivalent of a local government. And the District of Manhattan is just like any local government. Can you do it in Nigeria? He violated certain laws within that district, and he was brought to Nigeria. I'm sure on paper it's doable, but who will have that point? So that tells you. So again, also, rule of law in Nigeria is also a big problem. In fact,
trying to make a judiciary now.
Yeah, because they're all part of governance,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
The rule of law, media, executive, and the legislature, the 4 pillars, you know, that underpin every democracy. So when we talk about one senator once told me that he said the journalists are not the problem in this country, that the judiciary is the problem. If I can't discuss my conversation with him, but the truth also is that we're also live to that, where, you know, even government don't even cut orders. That is wrong. So there are a whole lot of things. So, especially like Tinubu, who has, you know, the background, you know, must see to all these things put in place. Even the media is not even free. Surprisingly, like the story, the media was freer in the military region than it is now. It's a very sad development.
Very much, Prof. If we had more time, we would have gotten much more from you. Of course, Prof, about the protests and challenges of good governance in Africa and the economic heart. Thank you very much for your insights. We really do appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
We'll very short break now. When we come back, we have much more lined up after the break.